name is Sami Laiho. I am a Microsoft MVP in the Windows operating system since 2011 and a security MVP since 2024. A long time ago started as an attendee for the Tech Mentor conferences and then became a speaker in Live 360 and Tech Mentor. And now I have been the co-chair for both the Tech Mentor conferences and cybersecurity live conference since 2017. I've been in the business since 1995 and I am from Finland. Well, mostly I am gonna talk about security concepts. So I try to get people to understand why the security is not a disabler, but an enabler. And I love seeing people's faces and their kind of a light bulb going on top of their head when they realize that these are actually not something that will make your life miserable, but can actually be a positive enabler for everyone. So mostly concentrating on different kinds of concepts rather than products. But I'm super hyped about anything related to kind of zero trust and getting rid of these old internal networks and having people use, operate, and administer their environments more securely. Well, I think our current world is filled with sales pitch level, not that technical conferences, first of all. So we got bigger conferences with a lot more people, less intimate, more about promiseware. So what I aim to do is keep our attendees catered with a kind of a layout of both concept level sessions that will speak about what the future is bringing, but also I want them to be able to actually go back from the conference back to work and start deploying what we're teaching instead of getting to know what might be possible in the next 6 months. I think both share an important role in people's lives. It's not that, but I am always, since I started going in conferences myself, I got a little bit fed up with the things that potentially might work. I do believe that I can watch those as videos. If someone tells me what is potentially possible, I see the benefit of also pleasing both myself, but also usually my employer, who many times is paying for the conference. I want to also have them getting the feeling that this is something that they should be sending them people because they can actually use it in current environments. And also not everyone's environment is yet on Windows 11 or Server 2025. So I also want to cater for basically anything that is currently used in real environments. So I want it to be very realistic and something that they can start deploying now rather than wishing for the best. Faster updates is something that I believe everyone just has to accept. So we are seeing a trend where from a emerging 0-day threat, there might only be honestly a matter of some hours that the enemy starts to use those to gain entries into companies. So I think that most people would be very scared of updating very fast, but I do believe that nowadays I usually look at it from the risk side, and I tend to ask my customers whether you should, which one would you like? Would you rather have a potentially 2-hour business impact, which you are in control of, which you decide when it happens, which you have recovery procedures planned? Or would you rather have a 3-month downtime controlled by a third party happening on maybe Christmas Day out of office hours? So I think everyone should understand that today the risk for a very big security incident is so big that we are better off just taking the risk of sometimes having a little bit buggy updates than waiting for weeks to install them. So I'm going to talk about how rapidly environments now get breached. Well, I think we have quite a few of these lately, but if we look at the multiple big ransomware cases that happened against different clothing resale companies, what we probably will learn from all of these is that you have to take very good care of your external attack surface. So we cannot have vulnerable devices online. It is currently around 4 minutes that it takes the biggest search engine for vulnerabilities called Shodan to scan the whole known public IPv4 network. So basically, if you have a vulnerable old, let's say, Exchange server, SharePoint, something like that online, and in a matter of 4 minutes, bad guys will know about it, and you're kind of calling for trouble. So I think that based on the attacks lately, attack surface reduction and attack surface monitoring is going to be even more critical than ever before. If we're talking about the biggest mistake with BitLocker, or in a way, any kind of encryption, it has to be the fact that people do not understand that that encryption is only as secure as the recovery keys management. So currently we have, scared to say, but I think around 9 out of 10 companies are actually having a very well configured BitLocker, but the recovery keys are accessible from, for example, myaccount.microsoft.com if these are Intune or Entra ID joint devices. So they're building a fortress when it comes to looking at BitLocker configuration on the device, but then the actual recovery key that can bypass it completely, they do not understand to take care of those. I think the missing of directory tiering, whether it's Entra ID or on-prem ID, it really goes back to just how Windows was built. We have to understand that the Windows domain model is from 1993. And that was the time when everything was built by the assumption that you either have full access to a local computer or you have full access to all computers. So there was only two. So we've only later realized that that cannot be the case. So we cannot be logging into any kind of a device with the most critical accounts, and also we cannot let the accounts wipe out the whole company. But in a way, I think it's just historical reasons that is overlooked. So people will have to start to obey two things. The other one is the Active Directory tiering, for example, which means that logging in with a certain account will only compromise a single tier out of 3 or more. And the other one is that they cannot use these full-powered domain admin accounts from a computer, which is at the same time basically logging into Facebook. So we have to divide computers into these highly powerful privileged access workstations and 2 normal endpoints. Yes, there is one session at Live 360 in Orlando on the cybersecurity and ransomware live track that I am really waiting for, which is another Finnish guy, Tatu, is delivering a session on how to deal with insider threats. So we are getting better and better at protecting against external threats, but we are sadly also that in a world where, because we're getting better at protecting against the external threats, criminals will actually fall back to old tactics, which are like bribing, threatening, and physically attacking people. So insider threats are part of this new genre where they are actually just being bribed to give the attacker the username and password. Now they're your friends or colleagues. So I am myself in situation where I think I really need some professional to tell me what we can actually do to mitigate those insider threats. So that's one of those many sessions that I am actually going to go myself to. Well, this is a thing that most people sometimes miss, which is the fact that I learn a lot from these sessions, even if I'm delivering the session, because people might think that they get tips from me. They come to a session and hear tips on me about Windows or Windows security, but I hear people from tens or hundreds of different companies on how they thought about something. So I learn all the time myself. This is like a treasure chest for a speaker to learn from the audience. So that's, of course, one way of looking at it. And then, like someone here at the Microsoft campus currently, someone here just said that it is the talks, what you have with your peers when you're moving from a session to another, are at least as valuable as the actual sessions themselves, because we live in a world where there's absolutely there's no possible way that you could know everything. So I always say that your most important skill nowadays is networking. So you can't know everything, so you have to get to know people who know things that you don't. So this is absolutely something that you can't do basically any other way than face to face with dedicated time for networking. So as I said, it's just a treasure chest of information for me. I would say that it is very rare that you would have a conference which is like big enough for having content for everyone, combining multiple different like smaller conferences into one which split into multiple tracks. You have dedicated time for learning instead of just getting access to like a subscription for some online learning. You actually have dedicated time for it. It's a very nice atmosphere, good weather, and of course I think that any kind of an event like this, which is actually concentrating on tech that they can use the day when they leave the conference, is something that you will not find nowadays in many other conferences. So there's no worry that it would not be worth the trip.